Kia ora bros and girls, welcome back to the channel. So today we're covering Polar Opposites Variant 3 Magneto Boss. Actually both the Magneto bosses. And the first one has Flux Dispersal, Limber, SP2, Enhanced, and Oscillate. So the main one you have to take account of is Flux Dispersal, which means that every time you hit this guy, it's going to reduce the damage on him by 5%. If you hit him up to 20 times, basically he gets a charge every time you hit him. At 20 charges, he basically becomes totally immune. So you can see the damage reducing and reducing and reducing. And the way to counteract this is, of course, to throw heavy and remove it, as the note says. Now, be aware that this guy also has Oscillate. He's got that same mechanism if you've seen, as we've seen in Variant 2 against the Yellow Jackets. So that means that when he's got that Fury passive on, he's going to be aggressive, he's going to come at you, you're going to see a lot more openings, he's going to throw his specials a lot more. And when he's got the armor passive, he's going to be a lot more defensive. And that's probably a good time when he's bundled there in the corner, defensive with the block. That's probably the best time to throw your special, throw your heavy, sorry, and remove those charges. And then get ready for when he's got that Fury and he opens up and he comes at you so you can do full damage. Now, I use Thing here, and of course Thing does a lot of damage even in this variant, even though you're gimped 50% if you don't bring a tech attacker, because Thing has 100% more damage every time he gets one of those passive Fury charges with the Indestructible. Basically, he's doing 450 damage, and you double it here with the SP3, so he's doing like 900% damage. So even if you take 50% of that, he still does better damage than your average champion. Of course, it is better to bring a team of techs if you have the right techs. But again, this Magneto doesn't really need much. There's several ways to play around the Limber. You can bring Domino as well with the heavy and just parry heavy, because you can parry heavy all day long if you have the flaming synergy, which is Domino, Red Hulk, and Massacre. Or you can use Ghost, or you can use Sentinel, or you can use basically any tech. It doesn't really require a specific champ to take care of this guy. The next champ is also a variation of Magneto. He's a different, the red Magneto, not the white Magneto. And he's got Gauss Warp, he's also got Limber, and Enhanced SP2. Gauss, whatever, that Warp thing basically means that I think every time you hit him or something, he gets like, he basically builds up to 100% block penetration, unless you place a shock on him. So with Thing here, I didn't even worry, and I just take care of him by just out damaging him, because I don't really care about block penetration and stuff. He's not going to hit me, and he's not going to be he's not going to get enough combos long enough to get 100% block proficiency. But if you're using someone else, a Warlock has a shock on his SP1. I think Sentinel has a shock on his heavy. Iron Man Infinity War has a shock on the SP1. Sparky has a shock on the SP2. So all of these guys will reduce that block penetration. And generally, really, if you don't push him to his SP2, I mean, SP2 is pretty easy to evade as well, but he's easy enough to evade the SP1 and the SP2 and just don't get hit. Because as the fight goes on and as he builds more in block penetration, you're basically going to be taking the same damage from a block that you're going to be taking from a normal hit. So it's best to try and intercept this guy or evade and get into him. Unless obviously you have Thing who's pretty tank, and then you can take a few hits here and there. But you'll see that I'm often just trying to intercept him and trying to kind of evade from his SP2 and dash back in there. So that's probably the easiest way to deal with this guy. Again, doesn't really need any specific champ. He's fairly straightforward. You just got to be aware of that block penetration, that when he comes at you, he is going to hit you as if you're not blocking at all. Okay, so hopefully this helped you out. If it did, like, subscribe, and keep following, because we're going to do the Wolvie and Storm bosses for Chapter 2 soon. Ka kite ano, bros and girls.